What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Jose Ramos Jr. Welcome back to the channel, and fresh off of the heels of another episode of Monday Night Raw, a lot to talk about, folks. First off, let's talk about the hot news. The biggest story that is being told on Monday Night Raw is revolving around that of the Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley returns last week, and we see the fallout of the last 3 months. Dominik Mysterio obviously in the doghouse with Rhea Ripley, and I love the interaction between he and Damian Priest. Damian Priest was always like the conscience of the group. He knew right from wrong. So to see him kind of treat Dominik Mysterio like the little brother that he is in the group, I find it very entertaining. But obviously the matter at hand is that of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. We basically got confirmation that at the SummerSlam event, it will be Liv Morgan defending her world title against Rhea Ripley in a matchup that I'm really looking forward to. They've been building up to this match for the majority of the year, but it's really years in the making because obviously if you go back in time, one time they were close like sisters. And now to see them fighting over the title, fighting over Dominik Mysterio, the progression in their story has been leading up to this. I, for one, am looking forward to that matchup. I'm looking forward to the card itself. But remaining on topic with Monday Night Raw, we saw that Dominik Mysterio trying his very best to get back on favor with Rhea Ripley, and she was playing hard to get. He was doing the whole Eddie Guerrero thing, having the flowers ready for her, trying to gain her favor. She wasn't having it. Dominik trying to explain what was going on. It's not what you think, mommy, he kept saying, but the crowd obviously booing him out the building until Liv Morgan would interrupt, claiming that she had said, I was going to take everything from you. She even said that initially she didn't see what Rhea saw in Dominik, but over time, she too also fell for his Latino heat. And it's little things like that that I love, because you really don't know, is she a reliable narrator? Obviously, if you saw the video after last Monday Night Raw, she was peeking through the curtain, laughing, having this smile on her face, seeing Rhea Ripley return. Now, was that because she was happy to see her back now that she can finally have her hands on Rhea Ripley, or was it all a part of this master plan? Obviously, we don't have the answers to that yet, but what we do know is that at SummerSlam come August 3rd in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Cleveland Browns Stadium, we will see Rhea Ripley attempt to get back the championship that she never lost. With Dominik Mysterio comes another interesting aspect of the story. Now that there's a little bit of dissension between Rhea Ripley and Dominik Mysterio, a new player enters the realm. Jey Uso throwing his name into the hat, wondering if Rhea Ripley is single. I mean, this is an interesting direction that we take it. Obviously, there was a little bit of hinting towards it in the past with Jey Uso and Rhea Ripley, but now that they're moving forward with it, it's very interesting as to where we're going with it. Obviously, this led to a matchup later in the night where Jey Uso would actually get the better of Dominik Mysterio, all because of a Liv Morgan interference, and then Rhea Ripley coming in as well. But towards the tail end of the episode of Monday Night Raw, Rhea Ripley, who had taken a little bit of umbrage with what Dominik had said, saying that she belongs to Dominik, she says, no, I don't belong to anyone. And she hands a flower to Dominik, saying, you belong to me. So for the time being, it seems that everything is getting back to what it was. Obviously, it's not 100%. Back to the, days in paradise. I know there's a little bit of still trust issues there between Dominik and Rhea, and maybe it's a part of a ploy here by Rhea, little mind games to have Dominik on her side to win the championship back, and maybe when she wins the title back, because I'm thinking she's winning the title back, she'll just dump Dominik to the side. Don't know. But that wouldn't be the only Judgment Day news in what was one of my favorite segments of the night. We had a face-to-face of the World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest, El Campeón, against Gunther, the reigning king of the ring. The King General is what they're calling him. And initially, this was a matchup that not a lot of people were looking forward to. I think the common assumption around wrestling fans was the possibility between a Seth Rollins versus Gunther matchup at SummerSlam, which is fantastic in itself. That really reeks of a SummerSlam main event, but that's not the case. I, for one, am a fan of what they're doing here. They have Damian Priest remain the world champion so he can defend it against the King General, and what is a great opportunity to establish more stars. We know in recent years we've been talking about how the WWE needs to create more stars. Well, there you have it. Gunther, Damian Priest, World Heavyweight Championship. So I had some level of interest leading into the matchup. But then, after that segment, after Gunther declaring to the WWE Universe that it is my responsibility, I bear the burden to elevate this World Heavyweight Championship just like I elevated the Intercontinental Championship. He said that Damian Priest was nothing more than street trash. That made it personal. So to see him just berate Damian Priest in the fashion that he did, it really did present Damian Priest in that babyface role. He says that he vows to defeat Gunther, that he will not be the one to take away the championship from El Campeón. That in itself really elevated Damian Priest in my eyes. It made me want to root for Damian Priest. I, for one, spoiler alert, I think Gunther's going to win the world title. I don't know how he does not win this championship. I don't know how. But in this case, they might have flipped the script here for me. I'm kind of pulling for Damian to win this championship because he hasn't really gotten a fair shake in terms of defending the title. You look at his matchup at Backlash against Jey Uso, Judgment Day interference. You look at his matchup at Clash at the Castle, CM Punk interference. Then you go to the Money in the Bank matchup, Drew McIntyre cashes in, CM Punk interference. He wants to be perceived as this fighting champion, as a legitimate champion. But all these people are getting in his business. They won't let him be. He hasn't really, in his mind I'm thinking, he hasn't really proven his worth as a world champion. And that's all he really wants. He wants to prove to everybody that I'm not a transitional champion, that I'm legit. And this is his opportunity. One-on-one with the King General SummerSlam. Like I said, August 3rd, Cleveland Browns Stadium. It's really shaping up to looking like a great card. I, for one, am really excited. As I mentioned, this Monday Night Raw had a lot of events going forward. We talked about the Judgment Day, but how about that main event, huh? Sami Zayn, the Intercontinental Champion, defending his title against Ilya Dragunov in what I think everyone could agree was the highly anticipated matchup of the night. We knew it had to be the main event. The Intercontinental Championship is on the line, and being that Gunther restored a great level of credibility to that championship, and that Sami Zayn has been the fighting champion that he is. And as a little sidebar, I find it very interesting how there are a segment of the audience who are growing tiresome with Sami Zayn. I, for one, am not one of them. I love Sami Zayn. I love what they're doing with him, being a fighting champion, defending the title. But if you look across the internet, you could see a segment of the audience claiming that he's winning again. He's winning too much. Well, he's a fighting champion. I like what they're doing with Sami Zayn. This is the same audience that clamored for Sami Zayn to be the one to defeat Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber in Montreal back in 2023. I don't know what all the fuss is about. Like I said, I'm a fan of what they're doing with Sami Zayn, and the match itself with Ilya was fantastic. And just like I thought what would happen is Braun Breaker, unleashing speed, might I add, runs all the way around ringside and lays out Ilya Dragunov with a spear, obviously causing a disqualification. Fingers crossed for a triple threat match at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship. I think that would be a great way to showcase all three individuals, because the work that Sami, Ilya, and Braun Breaker have been doing these last few months, nothing short of exceptional. And this could be an opportunity to have a title change. I think, obviously, if there's going to be a title change, I think it's going to be for Braun Breaker. The matter is, who would he pin? When it comes to these multi-man matches, it's a matter of who's taking the fall. Now, of course, this is before we even know if a triple threat match is in the cards for SummerSlam, but that's just wishful thinking. Monday Night Raw was not only an episode filled with Judgment Day drama or an Intercontinental Championship matchup, but how about that segment between Chad Gable and Bo Dallas? What they've been doing with the Wyatt Sicks, I'm a fan of. I would be really hard pressed to pick at little things that the WWE is doing wrong. For the most part, they're firing on all cylinders. There's not really that many complaints to be made, at least not on my part. So I'm just going to sit down and watch and enjoy the ride. But what they're doing with the Wyatt Sicks is specifically with these like interview segments that are being presented on a VHS tape have been spectacular. The Bo Dallas interviews really allowed us to get inside the psyche of Bo Dallas and how it's blending between he and Uncle Howdy. But this week was a little bit different. This week, we were able to dive into the mind of Rowan. Obviously, the character and the man. And I, for one, I'm thinking a lot of other, viewers might have felt the same way. It tugged on the heartstrings a little bit there. Hearing him talk so candidly about fallen Brody Lee and Bray Wyatt. Brody Lee, obviously, also known as Luke Harper. And like I said, Bray Wyatt as well. Hearing him speak from the heart, it's very hard to fake that. And you could see it, not only in his eyes, but you could hear it in his voice when he talked about losing a brother. And then just when he finally was beginning to regain a footing on life, he loses another one. Rowan, the final member of that original trio of the Wyatt family, looking for a family now to find peace within himself. And I think that's what the main foundation of this Wyatt Sicks really is. It's something that I even dived into in an earlier video where I spoke about the origins of the Wyatt Sicks. If you haven't checked out that video, please do so as I dive into each individual member of the Wyatt Sicks. And I'm hoping that in the coming weeks of Monday Night Raw, we're able to speak with other members. Obviously, we have Joe Gacy, Nikki Cross. The one that I'm really interested in, and it's someone that my brother actually brought up a great point, is Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis, ever since joining the WWE, even back in his NXT days, a man of very few words. So I would very much want to see how we tackle that character study. Very much so. And obviously the main, alignment, the similarities that these characters have, are all a part of families, all a part of stables and factions left behind. And now they're gathered together to wreak havoc on the WWE, I suppose. But that wouldn't be just the only time we saw a reference to the Wyatt Sicks. Chad Gable, who had an epiphany, he found out, he cracked the code, he said, that Uncle Howdy is actually Bo Dallas. And he calls out Bo Dallas. And it's very interesting that we didn't get some kind of entrance for Bo. It was very just nonchalant. He walked out to the ring donning a t-shirt of the Wyatt Sicks, now available on WWEshop.com. It's a shameless plug for the WWE. You see just the interaction between Bo and Chad. It was very brief, obviously, because Bo Dallas would get jumped by the Creed brothers. But it seemed like Bo was coming out of a place of vulnerability. I, for one, am of the camp that maybe this is a split personality type of deal between Bo and Uncle Howdy. We looked at that interview segment a couple weeks ago when it was Bo and Uncle Howdy, and they were facing each other. And it dawned on me that they're both the same individual. We know this. And it was taking place in the Firefly Funhouse, which was a location in the mind of Bray Wyatt. Was this in the mind of Bo Dallas? And if so, who is the real host? Is it Uncle Howdy? Or is it Bo Dallas? Nonetheless, the attack ensued, and Bo Dallas seemingly enjoyed it. Something a la of Heath Ledger from the Dark Knight, laughing with every attack that the Creed brothers and Chad Gable threw his way. Until finally the lights turn off and out come the other members of the Wyatt Sicks. A little too late if you ask me. I was wondering where the hell they were to begin with. But nonetheless, they come in, make the save, they cause the Creed brothers and Chad Gable to flee away from the scene. And Bo Dallas rises alongside his family members as they hold the lantern, and the segment would end. I think the match that we're looking forward to, is it going to be a six-man tag? Creed brothers and Chad Gable? against the Wyatt Sicks? And if so, what combination? Because keep in mind, there's 4 males in that group. We're looking at Uncle Howdy, we're looking at Joe Gacy, Dexter, and Rowan. If you ask me, it's probably going to be the 3 men, not Uncle Howdy, not Bo Dallas, but Rowan, Dexter, and Joe Gacy. I don't know. I see it as Uncle Howdy as the ultimate puppeteer. You know, he's going to be pulling the strings. He's going to allow his family members to exact his work. Very much so that of a cult leader. Or maybe I'm wrong. But that's why we watch the product. We keep up with it to speculate. You have to watch the product, develop your own assumptions, and then we all come back here and we talk about our feelings. We talk about what is going on in the world of professional wrestling, and how could I not talk about Drew McIntyre, whose story has really been the center point of this entire WWE brand ever since the return of CM Punk. Obviously, he entered the ring with Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce said, "I'm willing to do business if you are." And how does his match with CM Punk at SummerSlam sound? And Drew McIntyre says, "You know, there is nothing that I want more." He says, "Fantastic." He basically gave him the match. The only catch was that you have to apologize to these 2 officials. And Drew McIntyre would not have it. If Drew McIntyre really wanted this matchup, he would have apologized, but the pride within Drew McIntyre would not allow him. Instead, he laid his hands on these officials and said that he should have hit Adam Pearce even harder with that elbow, ultimately leading to his suspension being reinstated practically. So we'll see where we go from there. But an interesting point is Seth Rollins comes out to defend Adam Pearce, or maybe just to poke, annoyance at Drew McIntyre. Is there a possibility that this match at SummerSlam becomes a triple threat match? Obviously, nothing is official, but if you follow the product, you kind of get the feeling that Punk and McIntyre is inevitable. So with Seth Rollins inserting his name in this story, is it a triple threat match? Or perhaps it's something even more. What if Punk isn't even ready? What if he's not cleared yet? And instead we get Rollins versus McIntyre. I think that is a possibility. We'll have to wait and see what CM Punk has to say on next week's episode of Monday Night Raw. I still think the end game is Punk and McIntyre at SummerSlam. But with that Bad Blood event just around the corner in October, who's to say that's not where the blow-off match happens? I don't know. But it's very interesting to have these 3 individuals back together. Drew and Seth Rollins had a rivalry in the fall of 2023 leading up to their matchup at WrestleMania 40. CM Punk has obviously had a well-documented feud against Drew McIntyre and has his own issues with Seth Rollins as well. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But what do you guys think? Please sound off in the comments below. What did you think of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw? What are some key storylines that you are really attracted to? And will it be a triple threat match, or will we see a one-on-one contest? And if so, will it be McIntyre versus Rollins? Is it Punk versus McIntyre? You tell me in the comments below. Of course, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. Thank you for joining me on this Raw recap, and I will see you all in the next one.